Hello everyone, this will be the reading of Regular Boy Daniel Wayne by Diamond Rosie, read by Insect Overlord. This story has about 121,000 words and currently has 23 chapters. It is rated for general audiences and the creator chooses not to use archive warnings. Also, there's a possible content warning for child death. Here's the summary. Reporting live from Gotham City, the reporter spoke. Here at the scene of the crime where Dr. Collin Kilye, renowned geneticist, has shot himself and has been declared dead by the paramedics. Dr. Kilye is suspected for being responsible for the purposeful switching of newborns between families under his care, where an estimated of over 500 babies have been swapped in the last 20 years of employment here. Based on the information provided to the Gotham PD by Nightwing and Batman, the vigilantes investigating the crime, we are led to believe that Nightwing has been investigating this case after an anonymous tip-off of Dr. Kilye's suspicious activities. After a month and a half of investigating, Nightwing has reason to believe the Dr. Kilye of malpractice and came to his office to investigate. Dick had learned that people never knew a situation as well as they assumed they did. Dick always assumed that he wouldn't be one of those people. He was a detective, a bat, the first Robin. The case filed in front of him glared dauntingly. Danny Fenton, birth parents, Bruce Wayne, father, and Clara King, mother. Status, alive. Chapter 1, Breaking News. Chapter Notes. CW plus TW, mentions of infant death and fictional medical procedures. Dick, 25. Jason, 20. Danny, 16. Tim, 16, Steph, 17, Cass, 15, Duke, 17, Damien, 13. Danny sighed, stepping through the front door and into an empty living room, not bothering to turn on the lights, and tossed his hoodie onto a nearby sofa. Normally, Jazz would have berated him for being messy, or maybe Mom would have nagged about Danny being older and needing to clean up after himself. But Jazz was off studying neurology at Harvard, and his parents had gotten an amazingly irrefutable offer, Dano, to work at Dalvco under their new exotechnology sector that partnered closely with the GIW, so they were usually busy with that. Not that Danny wasn't glad to have time apart from his parents. After what Danny only referred to as the Chicago incident, he could barely stand being in the same room as them. Danny had kept quiet about what happened. He hadn't told anyone. Not Sam or Tuck or Val or Wes, and not even Jazz. He couldn't. He'd only managed to survive thanks to the timely aid of Fright Night and Firebolt, a ghost friend he'd made when stuck in the ghost zone during the GIW's 6-month martial law lockdown, but that was a story for another time. Leaving his shoes somewhere by the door, Danny made his way into the kitchen, perusing through the remnants of edible material. The equipment in the basement would have been collecting dust if Danny hadn't taken his liberties with it. Apart from his newfound and unbound freedom that he regarded with gratitude, Danny even began dabbling in cooking with real people food, and it was definitely because he wanted to, and not because he was sick of microwavable food, Jazz. With Danny's rendition of chicken Alfredo ready, he ate in front of the TV. He flipped through a few news channels before landing back on the news. He half listened to the anchor telling him about the incoming weather before the screen abruptly changed, flashing a bright red breaking news sign for a moment before panning over to a lady in front of what looked like a crime scene. "I'm Jennifer Blair, reporting live from West Gotham City with Z News." The reporter spoke urgently over the loud noise of police and ambulance sirens in the background. Here at the scene of the crime where Dr. Collin Kilye, a renowned geneticist and lead researcher at West Gotham General Hospital, has shot himself and had been declared dead by the paramedics. Dr. Kilye is suspected to be responsible for the purposeful switching of newborns of families under his care. It is estimated that over 500 babies have been swapped in the past 20 years of his employment here. Based on the information provided to the Gotham PD by Nightwing and Batman, the vigilantes investigating the crime, we have been told that Nightwing has been investigating this case after an anonymous tip-off of Dr. Kilye's suspicious activities. After a reported month and a half of investigating, Nightwing has the reason to suspect of Dr. Kilye of malpractice and came to his office to investigate, where the sudden sounds of his phone ringing brought Danny back to the living room. "Hey, Tuck," Danny answered, lowering the volume of the TV. "Danny, dude, have you seen the news story of Batman and Nightwing's recent bust? Tucker asked, his voice radiating fanboy excitement. Wasn't it mostly Nightwing's? Danny raised an eyebrow at his friend, even though he couldn't see it. Batman showed up later. Yeah, well, Batman and Nightwing. Nightwing and Batman. Okay, whatever. But isn't it totally insane? It's like Parent Trap, but illegal. That's not what happens in the Parent Trap, Danny pointed out for the sole purpose of being annoying. It's the essence, Danny, Tucker groaned. Danny could practically hear him rolling his eyes through the phone. We're still on for that new Doom game tonight. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The others come by yet? Danny put his plate in the sink. I'm adding them to the call. On the third ring, Sup, Fenton and Foley, ready to get your non-existent butts handed to you? Val goaded, already hyped for the game. Hey, I'll have you know I have a very nice butt, and Danny's isn't anything to scoff at either, Tucker snapped, only to be cut off by Danny. Okay, thanks for the defense, Tuck. Danny stepped in quickly before the conversation took a turn he did not want to witness. Dick was alone in the Batcave, working out the fine details of his case before sending it off to be released to the public. In all of Dick's years as Robin to Nightwing, this case was easily one of the most disastrous to the general public. Given that it was his case, Dick wanted to make sure it went smoothly, or as smoothly as telling a family their child isn't biologically theirs can go. Sorting through the files and pairing up the families with the correct child was relatively easy, thanks to the incredible details Dr. Kyle stored in his files. If the circumstances were different, Dick would have been amazed at how much data the doctor managed to keep collecting from 568 different subjects of his experiment. Silently praising himself for having already made his way through about half the files, Dick stretched his neck as he clicked the View Next button. In his line of work, Dick has learned that people will never know a person or a situation as well as they thought they did. Dick had been confident that he wouldn't be one of those people. He was a detective, a bat, the first Robin. He knew better than to assume anything. The file that showed up next was a chilling proof that he was wrong. For a bat, the past never stayed in the past. File number 6678. Date of birth, 12th of February, 20XX. Name, Thomas Wayne, Jr. Assigned mother, Clara King, missing. Assigned father, Bruce Wayne, alive. Biological mother, Madeleine Fenton, alive. Biological father, Jack Fenton, alive. Medical conditions, malformation of the heart and lungs. Unidentified chemicals present in the blood. Updates and notes. Deceased on 23rd of February, 20XX, 11 days old. The memories he managed to get buried for years seized Dick's senses, and he was back in the hospital waiting room at age 9. None of the others had known about the time Bruce and Talia had tried to work things out, and had given having a family together a try. No LOA business, no BAT or JLA, just regular-ish people in a regular-ish family. It had gone well for the months before Talia had become pregnant. Even most of the pregnancy had gone smoothly. Dick got to be in an actual family again after the death of his parents. They had dinner together, talked about their day, watched movies together. But then Talia had gotten sick, and the baby ended up coming out a little early. The doctors had told them it was normal, and that the baby would probably still be healthy. So Alfred sat in the waiting room with a nervous Dick, excited to meet his first ever little brother. He'd always wanted a little brother. Bruce came to the waiting room after making Dick and Alfred wait forever, and told them they could come in now. Talia, under the alias Clara King, was asleep when they entered. Bruce had told them the doctors had taken Thomas to get cleaned and do a few checkups. Dick remembered the anxious but excited look on Bruce's face as he kept glancing at the door, ready to pounce the second the doctor would come back with Dick's newest baby brother. Except that never happened. When the doctor came back in the room, he had a clipboard in his hand and not a baby. The doctor told them to follow him, and they went inside a room with a bunch of machines in it, and in the middle of the room was Dick's baby brother. The baby was mostly bald, but he had a little bit of black hair on his head, like Bruce and Talia. Dick wondered what color eyes the baby would have. Talia had green eyes, but Bruce and Dick had blue eyes. Alfred had said that the baby needed a lot of rest, and that's why he was sleeping so much. Dick would be a good big brother and wait patiently until his baby brother woke up. But the baby had to stay in the hospital for 10 whole days since Bruce had told Dick that his brother was really sick. Dick would check the nursery to make sure it was ready for his brother before Alfred would take him to the hospital for visits. Dick's baby brother hadn't been awake any of those days, and Dick never got to find out what color his eyes were. On the 11th day, they didn't go to visit. When Dick asked Alfred why, the butler had walked him to a patch of loose dirt in the backyard, marked with a little piece of rock with his brother's name on it. Dick had seen that type of rock with his parents' names on it before. It meant that he was gone, that Dick would never get to see him again. When Bruce had introduced Jason Todd and said he would stay with them in the manor, that was the first time Dick had truly ever been betrayed by Bruce. Jason wasn't his brother. Thomas was. But Thomas wasn't here. Jason may get to say he was Bruce's son too, but he didn't get to know about Thomas. Not letting his childhood tears deter him from his new goal, Dick quickly found the associated file. Dick's heart pounded in his chest while his breath was stuck somewhere in his throat. File number 77563. Date of birth, 12th of February 20XX. Name, Daniel Fenton. Assigned mother, Madeline Fenton, alive. Assigned father, Jack Fenton, alive. Biological mother, Clara King, missing. Biological father, Bruce Wayne, alive. Medical conditions, normal birth. Age 12, electrocuted, hospitalized for 24 hours, developed acute bradycardia, no follow-up medical procedures. Updates and notes. Prefers Danny. Dick looked over the file again and again. His baby brother was alive. He had come back. Should he tell Bruce? Obviously, that was a dumb question. How should he tell Bruce? Well, Richard Grayson was nothing if not tactful. He pulled out his phone from his jacket pocket, pulled up both files next to each other on the large screen of the Bat computer, snapped a picture, and clicked send. Bruce was supposed to be having dinner with some important business people or whatnot, so Dick decided he should flee the scene before the big bad bat found him, not wanting to know what his wrath would bestow on him. Heaven forbid, Bruce might try to talk about emotions. He closed the files, stored them in a flash drive, and wiped them from the computer. After all, this was his case, and he'd be the one to see it through. Dick was right in front of the elevator when the doors opened to reveal Tim. "You're done?" Tim asked, raising a suspicious brow. "I have a flight to catch," Dick said. "I need to pack." "Is it for the case?" Tim asked, putting his phone in his pocket. "Yeah, be the bestest brother ever and cover for me?" Dick pleaded, flashing his signature smile. "Why should I?" he huffed, already a few feet away from where Dick stayed. With a smirk, "'Cause you don't want Bruce to know about you taking the Batmobile out for a joyride was really for," Dick said with a smirk. Tim turned around, alarmed. "Fine, I'll cover, but you better not tell," Tim hissed at him. "Scout's honor," Dick winked before catching the elevator. "You weren't even a scout," he heard Tim complain before the doors finally shut. 3 hours later, Dick landed in Chicago, Illinois, and hailed a cab to take him the rest of the 1.5-hour drive to Amity Park, where Thomas Daniel Danny lived. Dick hadn't exactly planned this whole excursion through, which wasn't very trained by Batman of him, but Dick knew how to do things by the nose when he needed to. He had used this time in the plane to finish the rest of the files, which he completed quickly with his ultimatum in mind. Dick purposefully ignored every notification vibrating in his pocket, knowing he would be facing the wrath of either Tim or Bruce. But now he was sitting in a car for 1.5 hours with nothing to look out for except the darkness of the night and a relatively empty road. He opened his phone to 56 messages and missed calls. He scrolled through the group chat, ignoring it when it was just talking about regular stuff. Next, he opened his messages from Tim. Timbers. Dick. Timbers. What did you do? Timbers. When you said cover, I thought you meant for patrol or something. Timbers. Not whatever beef Bruce apparently has with you. Timbers. I demand compensation. Timbers. 1 video. Dick opened the video Tim sent him. It was 90 seconds of security camera feed from right above the elevator. Bruce's hair was disturbed from his usual well-done look he kept for business meetings, and his tie was undone. He stormed to the back computer, where Tim was doing whatever Tim does on the computer. Despite being dressed in business attire, Dick could practically see the flurry of Batman's cape behind him as he walked. Bruce whipped the chair Tim sat on around to face him so fast Tim nearly fell out. "Where's Dick?" The camera was a bit far but still picked up Bruce's echoing voice. To Dick's surprise, and seemingly Tim's as well, Bruce didn't seem mad. Disgruntled, alarmed, slipping from sanity? Yes. Genuinely angry? Not quite. It made Dick feel a little guilty. Only a little, though. "I dunno," Tim said, still reeling from the surprise attack. Bruce pushed Tim's chair away from the computer, scavenging through the files, no doubt looking for the files on Thomas and Danny. Unfortunately for Bruce, every single one of those files was secured in Dick's jacket pocket. Bruce would come to realize that soon enough, as he took a shaking breath and stepped away from the screen. The video ended. That explained the 12 missed calls from Bruce. Dick debated calling him back. No doubt Bruce would ask for an explanation he still has yet to come up with. Deciding that this was a problem for future Dick, present Dick decided he would let himself doze off for the rest of the cab ride to his destination. This concludes Chapter 1 of Regular Boy Daniel Wayne. This one really got me. I was super sad about when it explained how Thomas died and the unidentified stuff in his blood. I was like, oh my gosh, that's ectoplasm. Of course Danny's parents couldn't keep a baby alive after like all their experiments and stuff. It just makes so much sense. So thank you so much for listening.